3A-2, slope of a line and slope formula. Okay, so we just talked about how to find slope from a graph. Okay, when you have 2 points and you do rise over run, that's what we just talked about. Now we're going to talk about if it just gives you points. Okay, how do you find slope from points? So if you look here at the top two, what information does it give us? It gives us, what are these called? Stop. These are called what? Tables. Okay? So first we're going to find slope from a table. Look at this formula right here. What's this triangle mean? Have you all ever seen this triangle before?
No.
So what this means is change of y over change of x. So those triangles just mean change of y over change of x. How is the y's changing? How are the x changing? Notice that is a fraction. Okay, if you look here, it's a fraction. Just like slope is always written as a fraction. So on example 1, I'm going to find my slope from a table. And I want to know, how is the y's changing? How are the x's changing? Well, how do we go from 3 to 8? A plus 3 to 8 is 5. Okay, so the change of y, which goes on the top, is a positive 5. How are we changing x?
Positive 6.
Positive 6. So the change of x goes on the bottom.
Why there's negative?
Because it goes from a negative to a positive. So it's getting bigger, so it's moving in a positive direction. Okay? All right, so then I say, can I reduce this? So 5 divided by 6 gives me 5 over 6. I cannot reduce it. This is the slope from the table. Okay? Number 2. All right, change of y goes on top, change of x on bottom. How do I get from 1 to 5? Plus 4. How do I get from 2 to 2? 0, right? It's not moving. So I've got 4 over 0. Can I have 0 on the bottom of a fraction?
No.
Okay, well, let's see what my calculator says. What's my calculator say?
Undefined.
Undefined. So if I look at the notes that we just did, if I have an undefined slope, what kind of line is that? Straight up and down, right? So this table, if I was to graph this table, it would be a straight up and down line. Stop, boys. Okay? Okay? Okay, questions on how to find slope from the table? Change of y over change of x. Okay, slope formula. If you don't have a graph and you don't have a table, you can find the slope between 2 points on a line using slope formula. So slope equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Have you all ever talked about this before?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so find the slope of a line that passes through each set of points. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take both of these points and I'm going to plug them into the game. Okay, remember talking about the football game? Okay, here's my game right here. Just this. Right? So before I plug them in, I'm going to label. This is x1. Remember, because it's x comma y. x1, y1. Now, where am I getting these ones from? What does that mean?
It's the first set.
It is the first set of points. So that's my first x and my first y. Then the second point. This is the second point, so it's going to be x2, y2. My second x, my second y. And I'm going to plug them in exactly how it looks. So I start with the y2. Well, what is y2? Just 2. So I plug it in. And then my formula has a minus sign, so I need to put minus. And then it wants the y1 number, which is 2. Okay, I filled in the top. Now we're going to fill in the bottom. x2, which is 5. Now my formula has a minus sign, so I need to write minus x1, which is 1. Okay, now let's do the math. 2 minus 2 is 0. 5 minus 1 is 4. Okay, 0 over 4. What's that reduced down to?
4. 0.
0. So if I have 0 slope, my line would go side to side. If I was to graph these points, they would go side to side. Questions? Okay, example 4. I'm going to plug it into the equation, always label.
So basically, if the 0 is on the bottom of the fraction, it's going to be undefined, and the 0 is at the top is going to be 0.
Because I have 0 out of 4 things. So I have 0. This one, I can't have 4 things out of nothing. Okay, so you can never have 0 on the bottom of a fraction, so that's undefined. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Example 4. All right, label your points. This is my first x and my first y. And then label your second one. My second x and my second y. Okay, plug them in. Start with your y2. What is y2? 2. Then my formula has a negative, so I have to write minus. And then my y1 is what? Negative 6. Boys, I'm serious. Stop. 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 X2 is negative 5. Then I have a minus. And what's my x1? 7. Okay, what's different about this one?
Positives and negatives.
Okay, you've got a minus and a negative, right? Okay, because I have a minus sign in the problem, so I have to write a minus sign. Then my y1 was a negative. Okay, so I have to write 2 minus for the equation, and then a negative 6. So if I put that in my calculator, I do 2 minus negative 6. And I get 8. Over negative 5 minus 7 gives me negative 12. Can this be reduced? 8 divided by negative 12 gives me negative 2/3. Questions? Okay, now the bottom. Bottom's a little bit more difficult, so make sure you're paying attention. It says, determine the value of r so that the line through the given points has the indicated slope. So if you look at my points, I'm missing this number right here. It tells me r. It could be x, it doesn't matter what letter it is, but I'm missing this number right here. Okay? But this time it gives me the slope. So I have to try to figure out what does this number have to be in order to have this slope. So I'm going to set it up. I'm going to use this same equation, but now it's telling me the slope. Okay, so I'm going to use the same equation, and then I'm going to use r for right now. Okay, so right here we start with our slope. Do I know my slope?
Yes.
What is slope?
1/2.
1/2. So I'm going to start with 1/2 equals. And then I'm going to have a fraction, right? And I got to label my y2s and my x1s, all that. So I'm going to go label x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay? And I'm going to start with my y2. What is y2? 5. Then my equation has a minus sign, so I have to write minus. My y1 is 4. Then I'm going to go to the bottom of the fraction, x2, which is r, unknown. Then my equation has a minus, so I have to write a minus. And then my x1 is negative 2.
Can you make that? Can you put that in parentheses?
Yeah, you can. Like that? You can do that. Yep. Okay. So now, how would I do this? Yes. Yeah. Can I end solve this problem?
No. Yes.
How many variables do I have? One. Do I have an equal sign?
Yes.
Yes. Can I end solve this?
Yes.
Yes. So everybody turn your calculators on. Menu. Algebra. End solve. Okay, now I've got a fraction. Does everybody know how to do a fraction?
Yes.
Control divide. 1/2. Enter. And then I need another fraction. Control divide. 5 minus 4 on the top. R minus negative 2. And I'm trying to solve for R. So comma R. You hit enter. What?
Oh.
And you get
0.
0. So what does R stand for?
Undefined.
R is
0.
0. Would that make sense? 0 minus negative 2.
Yeah.
What does that give me?
0.
Let's see. 0 minus negative 2 gives me
2.
2. Is that what I got on the bottom of my slope? What's 5 minus 4? 1. That makes sense, right? Okay. Example 6, same thing. Let's set it up the same way, using this equation up here in the dashed lines. Start with your slope. What is my slope? Negative 3 over 4 equals fraction bar. Go label your points. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. It is very confusing if you don't label your points. So make sure you're labeling them every time. Okay, according to my equation, I'm going to start with Y2. What is Y2? R. Minus, because that's in my equation. My Y1 is 4. Then I've got X2, which is negative 1, minus my X1 is 3. How do I do this? How do I do it? And solve. Menu 31. Negative 3 over 4 equals R minus 4. Oops. R minus 4 over negative 1 minus 3. Comma R. And you get 7. R equals 7. Any questions? Any questions?